Welcome
Oh,
to our first night show of the podcast.
and we already
Uh,
had our technical difficulty. David already broke the audio.
Of course, I did. So, everybody, welcome to Hunting the Haunted podcast with Joe, David, and Sid. And tonight we are talking about world's most haunted places and places that we probably would like to add to our bucket list. So, who wants to go first?
I can definitely start it off. I've got a pretty solid list over here of things, and I got to start off talking about St. Augustine, Florida. So I actually have been there personally already, which I was very thankful to be able to go and do, especially at the Castillo de San Marcos. But let me pull this up real quick so that way David can put me on. And then, hold on. It's in share and then share screen. Here we go.
There it is.
All
All
right.
right.
Perfect. So here we go. So this is the Castillo de San Marcos. So this is down in St. Augustine, Florida. And overall, the actual town of St. Augustine is incredibly haunted. It was actually one of the first places here in the U.S. ever to be settled. Um, and for the fort, so obviously this is the fort. You can kind of see my cursor in the middle. There's a whole bunch of stories, everything from bodies being recently found on the location to overall haunts. Um, so first and foremost, let's start off with St. Augustine itself. There's multiple ghost stories that go along through here. Everything from Native American tales to things going back to certain wars. One of my favorite stories, actually, and my cousin actually pointed this out when we were going. Down in Florida, hot, super muggy, super humid. There was
Love Florida.
there was a
Love
very
Florida.
famous and beloved Catholic priest that was out there. Excuse me. His name was Jean Pierre Augustine Marcellin Verreau. He died in the summer of 1876, and so many people adored and admired this man that he was actually buried in a metal coffin with a glass window. So, because he was so well known and renowned, people from all over the US and people from even back across seas wanted to come and see him for his funeral. So, not quite used to this kind of heat, these wonderful people tried to, have it be displayed. They had his coffin set out for everyone to come see and everything. And without them realizing it, back then in 1876, there wasn't as many medical knowledge, there wasn't as much medical knowledge as there is now. And his body actually started to decompose inside of this casket. And during the ceremony, while everyone was around, the casket actually began to shake, rattle, and then it exploded. This man's body rained pieces of flesh and blood all over these people who adored him so that were actually there for his funeral. And when that's your first story going into St. Augustine, you know it's going to be a good time. So going on to the actual fort. So this is actually one of the very few forts made out of coquina shells. And coquina is, what's the one thing that we talked about with Skinwalker Ranch? Limestone is a very good conductor of these things. It seems to hold onto that paranormal energy a little bit stronger than most materials would. And this is only one of two forts built this way. Originally, it was a Native American prison for a good amount of time. Hold on, I'm pulling up more pictures. So then this... Oh, did it stop sharing?
Yeah.
All right, my bad. Here we go. Application window, this one. All right. So these are actual photos that I took while I was at St. Augustine back in 2011. And this is in that main courtyard that you could see from up above.
Yep.
And then if we actually go and take a look, see. So here's some of that coquina limestone. And each one of those little holes right there were either from a firing squad or from just in general weapon discharge. They were actually, the coquina shells are so small and kind of malleable that it actually left multiple indents throughout the fort, um, of all the people who were there. One second. This is little me, tiny little baby paranormal investigator in 2011. This room in particular right here was very interesting. So up until recently, actually, there were two bodies found in this room. There was an architect that had come through recently, and he had kind of heard like a hollow sound coming from a room. It was echoing. So he dismantled a couple of bricks and peeked in and actually saw two bodies there. Come to find out, they were actually the lovers, Dolores and Manuel. So in 1784, Colonel Garcia Marti and his wife Dolores had moved to St. Augustine to kind of take over the fort. He was a colonel, so he was in charge of a whole lot of the things that were going on there. While he was there, he was assigned Captain Manuel, and he was there. I'm sorry, I'm excited. I keep losing track. So the captain and the colonel were obviously working together, and a couple of days had gone by, and Dolores had kind of shrunk away from her husband, the colonel, and the colonel was very too much invested into the actual fort, into his troops, that he really essentially neglected his wife. Well, his wife turned around and saw that captain, he's kind of cute, he's a good looking guy, he's being really nice, he's actually paying attention to me, and they ended up having an affair. So when the captain actually came to the colonel for their morning meeting to start the day, the colonel could actually smell his wife's perfume on this man. And the next day, Dolores and Manuel were gone, just gone. So the colonel had said, oh, the captain had gotten reassigned to a different area. And then the missus, she went home to Spain. She wasn't feeling so good. She had to go home and take care of her mom, all of that. Well, like I said, their bodies were found much later on.
Oof. My bad.
See? Technical difficulty number 2, and then I can't talk today.
Go ahead. So I was setting my stuff up. My bad.
Oh, no, you're good. So in this room particularly, like I said, you can kind of see my back's not touching anything. I was a really big germaphobe back then. And this is actually my first couple of pictures I'd ever gotten as a paranormal investigator. So this is more of that room just on the outside. This is just a rock formation. That's, before everyone gets excited, that's what that is. But I took a picture and I had this weird purple light come through, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just reflecting off of the piece of metal that was there. But a couple of frames later, I actually take another picture. Where did it go? I've got another picture in here of this crazy purple light in this room. But, okay, wait, there's one, and then there's the second one. So very faint in this one, a little bit brighter in this one. And, it could have just been anything. It could have just been a light flare. It could have been something bouncing off. But the thing was, when I got home that night, I went to go take a shower, and I pulled the back of my shirt up, and I distinctly remember turning around, looking in the mirror, and freaking out. I screamed down to my mom, and I called my cousins up, and they're all thinking something's wrong. And here I am in the bathroom, completely overjoyed. I'm covered in 3-finger scratches all over my back. I mean, enough to draw blood, enough where it scabbed. And everyone's like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I think I got scratched by a ghost, blah, blah, blah. And it was so wonderful to go into this fort that Zach Bagans has been in, and to not only get potential visual evidence, but to have something physical happen along with, I had my spirit box going at the time too. And I can't remember because it's been so stinking long, and I didn't take any notes because I was an amateur. And but I mean, I was even getting things to the spirit box, and that was the first little inkling of, this is what I want to do. This is too much fun. So overall, the Castillo is an incredible place. They've got shadow figures that walk around. They've found there's another really big bullet hole too in the coquina shells, and you can kind of see a little bit more on the actual texture of the building. But I mean, it's a gorgeous. If you ever get to go, definitely go. Sorry, that's Lizzie Borden stuff. But to even have ghost stories going back all of that time, and to have bodies found recently. I'm talking when I did the tour in 2011, they had said within the decade. So I mean, that would have been the early 2000s at that time, and I mean that's pretty recent, all things considered. So if we can ever go down to St. Augustine, I want to definitely go back down there again because I mean, the whole place is just filled with ghost stories, top to bottom.
So, um, is there
Well,
anything
that's a
else you would
lot.
like to add to your place, Sid, before we go to the
Before we move
next
on from St.
location?
Augustine,
Yeah.
I mean, just between the corruption amounts that happened there, between the military and between the natives there, and the overall colonization of this area, really kind of put a whole spin on this early paranormal story. And a couple of these stories I actually have are all from the early 1800s. So this is going to be a interesting episode.
Okay. All right. So my location is this one's kind of short of a background and story. It's the island of the Dolls in Mexico. So I'll pull this up. This is what it looks like. And the story goes is that Don Julian saw a little girl and her sister swimming along the bank. One of the girls drowned, and he tried to save her. Then later there was a doll that he suspect that was her. So he grabbed that doll and he hung it up, put it up on display for like a peace offering for the girl, so she can do her thing in the afterlife or whatever. So basically, now this island is full of dolls. Okay. And all these dolls are pinned up on the walls, hung up on the trees. They're all gross looking, like decapitated, broken arms, broken limbs, rotting, everything. So basically, in this canal, which I'm not going to even try to,
Chicken,
uh, it starts with an X, so I don't even know how to say it.
chicken, try to say it.
No. So So basically, these dolls are for peace offerings, and they say that these dolls are possessed and haunted. And they also claim that Don Julian experienced some crying, like wailing of a girl near that house, hearing footsteps, and all this stuff. The locals of Mexico of this place, uh, they do not want to be around this island because they know it's cursed. They don't want to do anything and don't want nothing to do with it. They think it's like demonic possession. Some think this girl is an actual demon that's trying to portray as a demon. So, but the family inherited the island from him, and now they put it as a tourist attraction. Everybody that goes to this island now gives up a doll for like a peace offering or whatever. So basically, over the years, they have accumulated hundreds of dolls.
See, and like thinking about Robert the Doll and Annabelle and all these other iconic, typically cursed things, a whole island full of various dolls just sounds like a recipe for disaster in the best ways possible for a paranormal investigator. I mean,
Yeah,
that's one
yeah,
thing we talk about with trigger objects too, is that dolls are such a big thing, especially with kids' souls attached to them. They're, their favorite thing that go with them everywhere. And if something were to happen, I know a lot of people will take kids' toys to sites of murders or sites of homicides and leave them there. So out of the hundreds of God knows how many dolls are there, what does each story have? What could all be attached to each one? And then what kind of beacon is it making to have all of them in one spot?
right.
Well,
So
that's just like Poasttown Elementary School, their doll room,
Oh, yeah.
Daryl's doll room out there. Um, apparently, what I have heard, I don't know if it's the truth or not, but when people pass on, they do donate the dolls to Daryl, and he has 2 rooms full of dolls. And every time we're there, which I'll be on location there next weekend, but that 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 doll room alone is very active. I mean, every time I go on a second, because it's on the second floor of the school, you walk up the stairs, you go up when you go upstairs, you have the doll room, and on the other side of opposite side of the school, you have Miss Johnson's classroom, which is a very active room. I don't know why. I understand the doll room, but Miss Johnson's room, woo,
That's where all the
that
kids
place.
go to hide from the scary dolls that are all in that room.
I don't, I don't know, but Miss John, that doll room, you walk up there by yourself, you can hear stuff down the hallway from the doll room. Now, every time I walk up there, I hear something, I look down that way.
I
Every
cannot
time,
wait to
every
go.
time,
I'm not going this
every
week,
time.
but hopefully the next time it comes around, I'll be going because that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's in the fall. It's in the fall. They're gonna have that again.
So probably
In
the December
September.
one.
September. But yeah, speaking about dolls, that place is very active. The doll room at Poasttown Elementary School, the Bell Nursing Home in Kim Bolton, Ohio. When I investigated it, when he was still standing, they had a doll room also, and that doll room was crazy.
I'm
That
telling
whole
you, man.
place was that whole place was nuts.
They say
I
that eyes
I
are the
don't.
windows to the soul, and if you have a bunch of fake ones, I mean, that just what does that mean?
But you go in Daryl's doll room and you walk around and look, you're just like, oh my god. Just think about walking around there in the middle of the night
I
and
would love to.
in the dark.
Heck, that's the only way to do it is in the dark.
Yeah, yeah,
Paranormal investigators do it better in the dark.
yeah. Agree, agree. But yeah, doll rooms are pretty cool.
Notorious. There's
Yeah,
something freaky about them.
yeah, especially like Ghost Adventures. They did go to the island of the dolls.
Yeah,
They did bring a haunted doll. I think it was I forgot what the doll's name is, but they said they claim on the show that things got little intense when they brought the doll out and interact with all these other dolls and whatnot. So
That's brilliant though to take another doll in and try to like have a tea party with him or something and see what happens.
I think it was Robert the doll. Yeah, it was
Oh,
Robert the doll.
Robert the doll.
even better.
So basically, doing that, it kind of set them up for a lot of things and a lot of dangerous things. So, so that's my first one. Joe, what's your first?
Mine would probably have to be what I did get to investigate for 10 hours. Is probably Franklin Castle. That's probably the best place I ever investigated. I mean, that place is. I mean, you hear about the legends of Franklin Castle, how haunted it is, and different things like that. And you never know until you get there. When you get there, and the place like kind of intimidates you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just know about Franklin Castle. You hear about Franklin Castle as me being a paranormal investigator as long as I have been, I kept hearing about Franklin Castle, Franklin Castle, Franklin Castle, and how active it was, and what's inside, and what had actually happened, why it's so haunted.
yeah,
But when we pulled up to the house, you had some old guy standing out front with a Bible, same Bible verses as we pulled up.
David, that might be me
And
that you're trying to share.
Yeah, I
There we
know.
go.
I'm setting another one up. So keep on talking.
and
Don't worry about it.
and so I don't know if you want to pull up Franklin Castle picture. I don't know how to pull those things up on this thing, but um the whole thing is when you pull up in front of the house, for one, it's in a bad neighborhood. It's in a really terrible neighborhood. It's not in a good neighborhood.
And what part of the U.S.? This is in Ohio, isn't it?
It's in
It's in
Cleveland,
Cleveland.
Ohio.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
and so
I got it.
we pulled up, and some old man was standing outside saying Bible verses right in front of that gate, actually, right where that steel gate is. He was standing out in front of that gate, and he was like saying Bible verses and whatnot. And I was like, "Oh, what is
It's
this?"
like that.
You know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen some weird stuff. Like, we're going on to a location, and some drunk guy comes walking out in just his underwear and tries to direct us somewhere. I don't know where he was directing us. It was
You know,
strange,
you do
but
not go
whatever.
whatever way he directs you.
Hey,
What
he had,
opposite?
he had his whitey tighties on. He was pointing. I don't know what he was pointing at, but we just kept going. But
I was going to say, in the right mind, why would you take directions from somebody that's in their
yeah, yeah.
underwear? You
They,
know.
I mean, they don't. I mean, they don't know who we are. I mean, we were just driving somewhere, and so we pull up and we get out of the car, and then Bill, he's the caretaker of the house. He also did a book on Franklin Castle and different stuff like that. He said, "Oh, don't pay attention to him. Whatever. He's kind of a crazy guy or whatever." And so we come in with our equipment. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed taking video or pictures or anything of inside the house. So at that time, I don't know about now, but at that time, this is when they had an electrician come in the house or a water guy or something come in the house, and he brought his girlfriend or wife with him. So they were both in the house, and the caretaker's like, "Okay, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back." Well, his wife ran around and took multiple pictures of the house inside, and so they leave, and next thing you know, the inside of Franklin Castle is in a magazine.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Yes. So the owners of Franklin Castle said, "I don't want nobody else in this house. No one." So
Damn.
they stopped investigations for 4 years, 3 years. This is after Nick and Katrina did their thing for 3 days or 2 days, that show they had. Um they were the
Portals.
last ones. Yeah, they were the last ones to be inside that house. So we were contacted by Franklin Castle to investigate Franklin Castle. And I said, absolutely. So I was like, well, how long could we stay? And he was like, as long as you want. Oh, I was like, well, cool. I'm going to take advantage of this. So we investigated it for 10 hours.
Good
10
lord.
hours investigating this amazing place. And inside of it now looks phenomenal. It looks amazing. When we investigated it, it was looking rough. Let's put it that way. Um, there is multiple spirits there. There's some bad stuff there also, which uh, something did follow home one of our investigators, and another one quit that night. Um, but I was told it's just not Franklin Castle itself; it's the whole neighborhood is like that. But the story about this, the Tiedemans, when they owned this house back in the day, I can't remember what year that was, but they claim that he killed his niece Karen and the servant girl Rachel. Okay, back in the 70s, they found bones in the wall. Okay, when they were, I guess, remodeling the house or something like that, and they found bones in the wall, so they blamed it on him. He's a German descent. He's from him and his wife from Germany, and they claimed he was the one that did it. He killed these girls, and that's why it's so haunted and whatnot and everything like that. But that's not the truth. The truth is, okay, the truth is, he was an upstanding citizen around Cleveland. He was like a banker. He did so many other things too to be an upstanding citizen. So he didn't kill anybody. Why is this place so haunted? I have no clue why. This is an amazing place to investigate, but when you go investigate this place, you really have to know what you are doing. If you do not know what you're doing and you walk into this place, I promise you, shit will follow you home. You'll be in trouble. I promise. The energy in that place and the spirits that are in that building, in that house, are very strong, and they don't play. They're serious. Very serious. Because over my Oculus, we had it on phonic mode where it would talk. It had one of my investigators running up and down the stairs.
Was playing with it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
See, that
And
reminds me of the Greenville Manor too. Just they were smart, and you could feel it when you walked in.
yeah, yeah. And at this place, they're very smart. They are very, it's very intelligent what is there. And we put a recorder in the basement. You could probably see, I don't know, little windows down there. But anyways, we put a recorder down in the basement, and over the recorder, I got a German man saying, "Do you have a Peter pie?" I don't know what that means, and I tried to look it up, and it brought me up to some porn site or something. I was like, "Never mind, I don't get it." But yeah, I swear to God. But it has to have some sort of other meaning why I got this voice in the basement. I literally sat in the living room on that. See where the big window is right there, where the round,
Where the
right in the middle
spiral is?
there. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, okay, you walk up the stairs, you go up to those stairs. The living room's right around there. I was literally sitting in the living room and I was watching shadows walking past me. Okay,
See,
it
we
was
need to go.
it was the strangest thing. I was like, oh my god. I mean, it's like they're looking at you like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
and I wish that at that time we could have ran cameras and stuff like that. But I understand why we could not have cameras because they wanted to see if investigators, we were guinea pigs to see if investigators can actually come in and actually investigate this place without, you know what I mean, without showing stuff that they don't want to be shown in magazines or TV
Right.
or whatever. But and I don't know if you remember the episode of Ghost Adventures when they were in there not too long ago. I think it was a year ago, maybe. And there's a bunch of popping up there in the attic. Because I got to go up in the attic. It's right up there where the points are. That attic is phenomenal too. But it's like a bunch of popping like fireworks. In the living room, we're standing there, and it sounded like the house came alive. It sounded like fireworks going off.
Hmm.
And I was like, it's got to be outside. So someone walked downstairs, went outside, and it was like, there's no fireworks out here. It was coming from inside the house. The house basically woke up, and yeah, that's how it was.
So,
Are
do
they
you know if there was a Peter that lived there?
I
not a
try to
big?
look that up. Far as I know, the Tiedemans lived there, and they're the ones who had the house built and everything like that. Other than that, there's not a lot of history on who else lived there or what actually. I heard it had at one point in time. I don't know when it was that something had to do with some sort of I don't know, I, like some sort of I don't know, like a what do I want to say?
Are we talking like a
Like a
presence? Or are we talking?
no, like someone was there making uh porn movies there, but I don't know
Oh
how
my
true
god.
that is. Yeah, but I don't know how true that is though, because this is what I heard, but I'm like, how true is that? I don't know, because what the caretaker told us is basically what I just told you
Right.
about. He didn't say anything about that, and he says they don't bother him there. He does what he does, and they don't mess with him. He'll hear something downstairs. He'll walk downstairs and don't see anything. He goes back to actually his room is like right up there in one of those little windows in the top.
So he lives there?
Yeah, yeah,
Sounds like my grandma's house. She
yeah.
lives amongst everything that happened there, and I mean that house is chock full of crazy things that happen.
Actually, when they did the episode, when Ghost Adventures did the episode on Franklin Castle, Zach Baggins pissed Bill off.
That's not
Okay.
surprising. That sounds like something he would do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
So he Zach Baggins thinking that he is possessed with something or
Oh
whatever
no.
was going on, and Bill's like, no, I'm fine. And then Bill is like the nicest guy in the world. He will. I mean, he will. If you had him on here, you wouldn't get a word an inch, and you wouldn't get a word in because he doesn't stop talking.
My kind of man
You
right there.
Yeah, you'd be sitting here for 3 hours talking to this, or he'll be sitting here talking to you about everything. He's very intelligent. He's very intelligent, and he knows what he's talking about. That's the cool thing about it. But the first time I went, I actually got to investigate it a second time, but it was only for like 4 hours or whatever. I went up there the second time, and the place is phenomenal. I mean, the place is beautiful. Um, it's but when you go investigate Franklin Castle, you really need to know what you are doing when you go into this place because it will get you. It will. You start playing with whatever's there, they don't play. They don't play. Get your evidence, ask questions. Don't follow anything around the house because if someone wants you to follow them around the house, do not go. They will come home with you.
See, that's when you guys would
Yes.
have to keep me on a leash because I would be absolutely the one running up and down the stinking
No.
stairs.
Don't do that. No.
Well, that's the fun thing is I can't run very fast. So, if nothing else,
All right, Sid, here is your second location.
Ah, yes, the Lalaurie Mansion. So this is actually one of the most notoriously haunted places in New Orleans. This is out on Royal Street. It was featured in American Horror Story, but not, Hollywood takes its liberties where it does, but not all liberties. So the house itself has been a hub of paranormal activity for almost 200 years. And what was it? Back in between 1830 and 1834, there were upwards of 12 deaths in the house, and that's just in a 4-year period. Most of those were slaves, but 4 of them were Madame Lalarie's children. Um, so after a certain point, this is back in during the slave era, there were actually reports of just these awful sounds coming from this house. And by the time, police finally, broke in and looked around, they had found 7 mutilated slave bodies. They were either hanged, their limbs were completely stretched, so they had been pulled in every which direction. There were even some missing body parts. One of these ladies had such a severe head wound injury that she couldn't stand, she couldn't walk, she really couldn't talk, but she was able to live, surprisingly. But you got to figure, if these are just the 12 that were documented, what happened to the ones that weren't? Because these are just the ones that were reported to the coroner. These are the ones that were reported to, funeral service sites or whatever it may be. And the overall house is chock full of energy now. They have tours that go on. They've had tour guides have experiences during said tours, and people have witnessed it. So also around this time, though, after Lalaurie passed away in 1894, so a couple years after, everything had been found, Lalaurie was gone, it had become apartments at that time. And within a couple of months of this man living there, he was saying some really weird things. He was saying that they were what he described as sprites running around the house. And you typically, like, I would have looked at that kind of weird, but at one of the house investigations that we personally did, a dear friend of mine and my mentor, Patrick Gorman, he's a medium, actually had said that there was a tiny little troll-like creature coming out of the well. And I was kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. But now that I'm doing more and more of this, I'm hearing more and more of these little sprite-like creatures or goblin-esque creatures that are living in these places. And he blamed these little sprite things for all these things that were going wrong. And he was found murdered in his apartment. They had originally chalked it up to a robbery, but there was nothing of value taken. His things had been rummaged through, but other than that, nothing was gone. And then after it had become this apartment building, it also became a all-girls school full of African-American children ages 8 to 9. And, while they were all there, they would come down to their teachers with these welts and these bruises and these cuts on their arms and legs. And, their teachers are like, are you okay? Who did that to you? What happened? And they just said, that woman did it. That woman. They never were able to pinpoint exactly who, what, when, or where, but they just kept saying that woman. There's also a girl named Leah that would run around this building. So there's stories going around that she was a young slave girl. And one of those very top windows, it's actually boarded up now. And she had been pushed, she had jumped, she had fallen, whatever it may be, she had fallen from that 3rd story and passed away on that sidewalk out there. And it's been the home, like I said, of many things that have happened. Plenty of people have had experiences, like I said, over the 200 years. The tour guides have said the girl's name, Leia, to, the groups that they have in there, and they've had everything from the lights flicker when they say her name to when they repeated her name in that exact same conversation, that light blew out completely. And of course the tour guides are like, oh, this is so cool. They're a lot like us. They get very excited when these kinds of things happen. This other woman was doing a tour and she had like a messenger bag on her shoulder. And she said she felt someone tug at it and she thought she was being pickpocketed by a tour member. And so she looked down, there was no one there. She fixed it up on her shoulder and kept talking, and then harder this time it got yanked off of her shoulder. And she turned around again, no one was there, and she turned to the tour group and was like, so someone's just grabbed me twice. I didn't really know what happened the first time, but now I think I know. And of course the tour just erupted in this crazy, oh my God, I can't believe that happened while we were all here, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can get physical and spiritual and intelligent responses from this building. And I mean, it was even on fire at one point. I mean, like I said, it's been everything from a slave owner's home to an apartment building to a school. And Nicolas Cage actually owned it for a little while, which is kind of an interesting little tidbit. And he then promptly moved back out. He was out, and now it is a museum set up for tours and all kinds of things. But this is the one house in New Orleans that a lot of people will avoid, and they know that this is the one house that is actually home to true and pure, unadulterated evil. And I think that's a really interesting thing, especially because of yesterday we were talking about New Orleans. I talked about Marie Laveau. This is the exact opposite end of that spectrum. We had the voodoo priestess who was highly renowned and highly respected and highly revered for the things that she was doing. But then we have this true monster who was doing all kinds of horrible things to real people. And, you know, she went down in infamy for it. And I wanted to go to New Orleans and just do like a paranormal crawl, because I guarantee you almost every single building on
Yeah.
these roads are some degree of haunted. I want
Joe, go ahead with your next one when you're ready.
I'm kind of with you with the Myrtles.
Myrtles?
Myrtle
That would be
Plantation.
cool.
Um,
Yeah, that would be very interesting to go investigate Myrtle's plantation
all right,
because
here's the house. So what I read about Myrtles, okay, it is 100 miles. Did I lose you guys?
no, I'm here. Looks like you
Okay,
lost
okay, there it is. There's
Sydney.
the background
Oh,
noise.
there she
Surprise!
is.
You can't get rid of
So
me.
what I've read is that it's 100 miles property on this land, and this land was supposedly inhabited by Indians. The house was built in 1796 by David Bradford. He was a leader of the Whiskey Rebellion at the time. Okay, so there's reports of a ghost of a native woman believed to be buried there, spirit of Chloe, which was a slave.
Yep.
Then let's see, there's a young girl, another young girl, and then another ghost, William Winter, is a famous ghost of Myrtle Plantation. So the legend of Chloe. Chloe was a African American slave,
Yep.
among others that were working
Voodoo stuff.
probably
She was into the voodoo
voodoo
kind of
stuff,
thing. Yeah.
cotton
Yeah.
field. You would think of a plantation.
They still have
So,
slave houses out there too, David.
huh?
They still have the slave houses out there too.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah, the workhouses,
Yeah.
which is
So, yeah.
crazy.
So what I found is the records indicate that Sarah and the two of her children died of yellow fever. Legend has it that they were actually poisoned by Chloe. Clark Woodruff, which took ownership at that time, took a liking to Chloe, began to force himself on her. Chloe had no choice. If she didn't give in to his demands, she would go publicly and be publicly flogged, which is basically whipping. So she wanted a revenge. She listened into Clark and Sarah's business dealings when they're doing some whatever dealings in the house. Hoping to catch a secret, she would use it against them. Unfortunately, she got caught eavesdropping, and they punished her by cutting her ear off. And that's the reason why she is wearing a green turban for a cover up. So her missing ear is covered up. So Chloe made a plan. She had a baked good for the family. She also boiled down some Olander leaves. Olander, is that how you say it? Olander. But anyway,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be toxic.
Yeah.
Olander. And she poured the extracts into the cake, and then she got um, everybody's sick. Woodruff sick. The nurse that came back to health, which would once again put her in a good standing with the family. Okay. So whether or not her plan backfired depends on her intentions. If she wanted them dead, then Chloe sure did succeeded with it. Sarah, James, and Africa Gale all died after eating the cake, which was the daughter, the wife, and whoever else that is. So the other slaves, not wanting to get in trouble for her harboring, they kidnapped Chloe in the middle of the night. They killed her by hanging and tossed her in the nearby river. While some stories say Chloe is a work of fiction, many swear by it. The ghost of Chloe has been seen around the house at night, usually standing over the beds of sleeping guests. Several visitors at the plantation have reported seeing the ghost of a young black girl wearing a green turban in different areas of the house. One photographer even caught a photo of her while surveying the property for an insurance company. The ghosts of the children who were poisoned have also been spotted in the house. The daughter, Africa Gale, appears in the room where she died. Other guests have seen her from outside the house, staring through the upstairs window. Some say she bears an uncanny resemblance to the young girl who is the subject of painting in the game room. So that's the legend of Chloe and the little girl that she killed. William Winters, okay, uh, is a attorney for the Washington something. What doesn't matter. He's an attorney during the Civil War, helped the plantation's finances, found themselves dead broke. Their assets had been in the Confederate currency, which had become worthless after the war. In 1871, Winters was mysteriously shot dead on the plantation. Rumor has it that a man named E.B. Weber was the trigger man. Though it's unknown why Winter was targeted, Winter was shot on the front porch, but walked into the house while wounded and attempted to climb the stairs, dying on the 17th step. Now, the legend goes is that Williams Winter's ghost will be crying because of his shot, and you can see his apparition crawling, and then you hear footsteps stumbling on the stairs, and people who hear that go outside to see, and nobody's there. Let's see, and then this young girl, this young ghost girl, who died in 1867, also haunts the plantation. She died of unknown causes, but a voodoo priestess attempted to save her by performing magic rituals, which failed, obviously. Her ghost has been spotted in the room where she passed away, and guests claim to have woken up to a young girl practicing voodoo on them while they slept. Apparently, there's blood stains. A maid attempted to clean, but they would not come out of the floorboards. So that's all I found on Myrtle's plantation, and that was
Well,
a lot.
yeah. Well, yeah, the place I've been to also, the Sealy Rose House. I don't know if you guys heard about the Sealy Rose House. The Sealy Rose House is where Sealy Rose, she was a teenager, but she had the mind of a small child. Okay. The the boy that she fell in love with lived down the street from her, but he didn't want anything to do with her because he's a teenager and she has a mind of a 5-year old, 9-year old, whatever it was. And so her parents forbidded her to date this guy. So what does she do? She gets rat poison and kills her whole family. So we're in this place. I have our SLS camera, and there's a chair sitting in the living room. and you could see a figure sitting in his chair, pounding on the chair like it was suffering. This that place is pretty awesome too. We had the front door open on its own. Bunch of EVPs. You can the cursor on my laptop, on my old laptop, that was out on the porch, was moving on its own.
And where's this at?
It's in Mansfield. It's Malabar Farms.
Dave, you want to pull up a picture?
So
Melbar.
Malabar Farms.
Melbarn?
Just up for
Oh,
Cecilia Rose
Melbar.
house. Yeah.
I just can't wait to see how he spells this.
Malabar Farms. Is that it?
Nope. That's
Oh.
not Cecilia Rose house. You're in the
Oh.
right location though. Now, if you just
Right.
type in Celia Rose house,
I don't know how to spell that.
that'll come up. CEELY
L-Y.
Rose. There you go, Celia Rose.
Rose House, Mansfield.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have our equipment, and we go in this. It's kind of a small house,
Oh, it's
as you can
cute.
see. Right. Well, it's not so cute when you go. It's. But we had my laptop sitting on a table right there in front of the windows, right there,
Mm-hmm.
in front of the house. You don't have much of a yard, I promise. You don't. And the cursor on my laptop was moving on its own. And we could not get into the laptop to do anything. It would not do nothing. So actually, if you look at the bedroom, from what I'm looking at, it looks like it's on the right side.
Right.
The one at the end, the big window,
At the top?
that's Celia Rose's bedroom. That's Celia Rose's bedroom right there. And the one at the other end of the house is the mother and father's bedroom. So she killed her family in this house. She poisoned them with rat poison, put it in their food. And because she wanted to date this boy's like, I don't want nothing to do with it. I can't remember his name now. But she didn't want anything to do, or he didn't want anything to do with her. And so she killed her family. And she died of a old age. But when we were there, we couldn't keep our equipment charged for the life of us. I mean, we had all kinds of stuff plugged in the walls the whole night long, all night long, because whatever was in that house just drained our battery on the SLS camera, on just regular cameras. The laptop was acting up. I mean, it was crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
it was insane. So we got really good EVPs out of that place. Actually, I have a video of this little figure. I don't know how big it was, but it was on one of my investigators' heads, and it was picking at his head on an SLS camera. I want to
That
say
is
it had
so
to be like
cool.
this big. And I was like, what is that? And so the whole night was just, I was like, wow. I was like, I'd investigate that house again. I would.
It looks
If
like
you
an
go
amazing
into the
house.
house-
Should I just pick up a...
Yeah, I mean, once you walk in a house, you'll be like, there's not much to the house. You know what I mean? Because the kitchen's like right where that front door is right there. That's where the kitchen is. When you walk in,
So
you're in the kitchen.
very tiny house.
Very
Yeah,
tiny house.
yeah. Celie was 23, and
Yep.
it was a triple murder. So it was her parents and then her brother too.
Yep. She killed them all.
She was arrested, confessed, and tried on the 3 counts. She was found
Yep.
not guilty by reason of insanity and sent to the
Yep.
Toledo Asylum. And she was transferred to the Lima State Hospital for the criminally insane and died there in
Insane.
1934, a day after her 61st birthday.
Yeah.
Damn.
Hmm.
But so later on, about a year later, Channel 4, Channel 6, whatever it was, got a hold of me and said, "Hey, would you seen you investigated the Celia Rose house?" I said, "Well, yeah, I last year." It's like, "Do you mind going back again?" I said, "No, not at all." So it's like, okay, we're sending out 2 reporters, whatever. We want to do a thing for USA Today. I was like, sure, I'll come out. So me and one of my investigators went out and we did a thing, whatever. They recorded us talking, whatever. But when they first got there, we got there before they did. They pull up and this guy comes walking out with a camera and he has the keys and he goes to unlock the door and he stands back and I was like, "Go ahead, go in." He's like, "Nope, you first." He was terrified. This guy that was from either Channel 4 or Channel 6, one or from the newspaper or something. He was terrified. He didn't know what to expect.
I love it.
So yeah. So he's like, "No, you first." I was like, "Okay." So I walk in the house along with my guy. He walks in the house behind us. His camera just dies on him. Nothing. It's all gone. It's gone. His camera's done. So he's like, he goes, "My camera's dead." Well, what had actually happened? If you watch the video, the camera starts shaking violently,
See, we need to
and
go.
I got it
and
written down.
so yeah, but his camera started shaking violently, and it died on him. So he got a cell phone. He's like, "I'll have to record it on the cell phone." So he got his cell phone. He enters the house. His cell phone's gone. Done. He's like, I had my phone was charged. He's like, "I don't know what's going on here." So he had to get another one. And finally he got to go in and record us or whatever. So we're in Celia Rose's bedroom at the time, standing in there. Something was touching his hand while he was up in his bedroom. And he about lost it. He's like, "I want to go back outside." He was freaking terrified. So I'm standing out on a porch before they get there. And I said, "Hey, Celia Rose, are you here?" And I get a woman's voice or a girl's voice say, "I can hear you." I was like, okay,
Wow.
somebody's here.
Wow.
The place is awesome. I mean, it's crazy. But he
That
was very terrified. And
see, that's
we
not
ended up on the
enjoyable.
news, which I didn't know about. So I had no idea we were on the news. So someone said they seen me on the news at some house. I was like,
Oh,
huh? Yeah.
you
So
saw
they
me
didn't
where?
let us know about that. Yeah. They wanted it to be like they were doing a thing for the most haunted places in Ohio,
Oh,
whatever.
gotcha.
And that's what it was about. And so we did a little thing for, you know,
I want to go. That sounds, and that's here in Ohio.
yeah, it's in Mansfield. Yeah,
We're just gonna take a
Mount
week
Bar
long trip
Farms.
to Mansfield. That's what we got to
Se-
do.
Seems like there's a lot of haunted stuff in Mansfield.
Can't imagine why.
Hmm. So this looks like Lizzie Borden's house.
Indeed, it is. I feel like we can't touch on most haunted places in America without touching on this house.
You know what's funny? I
No,
was going to put this
absolutely.
on my list.
I want to go so bad. I know I say that a lot, but good Lord, dude, do I want to go. And I mean, like, as far as the Lizzie Borden house goes, I mean, there's a whole bunch of there's oh, okay, hold on. So you got to figure in 1872 when Andrew Borden bought the house, he bought it with his current wife Abby. So Sarah was actually Lizzie's mother. Sarah's who passed away a couple days after childbirth with Lizzie. So now we have Andrew, Abby, Emma, and Lizzie all living in the house, along with their maid Bridget. And you know, they moved in 72, and the murder happened in 92. So the stepmom, as stepmoms go, was not liked by the girls. The girls were worried quite a bit about Abby just being there for the money. Their father was a very prominent man back in the day. When Lizzie passed, actually, her net worth was over $500,000 in today's current money. She was worth $628,000 by the time she passed away. So there was plenty of money wrapped up in the family. Um, so what's always interesting to me is that Abby was murdered first upstairs. She was in the bedroom, you know, she knew the girls were doing chores, but she wanted to go up into her room and make her own bed. And she was making her bed. She looked up and turned around, faced the killer in the face, and was cut down. Her first hit was on the side of the head. She was attacked upwards of another 17 more times while on the ground. And this happened between 9 and 10:30 in the morning. So again, right around 10:30, Andrew comes home. He was doing a couple of business runs with his brother. He returned home around 10:30. So same kind of very tight time frames. So he came home, but he was locked out. So of course he's knocking on the door. He's angry. His key's stuck. So Bridget comes and helps him out, opens the door. And Bridget had testified that she had heard Lizzie laughing upstairs. And again, if Abby was murdered before Andrew came home, the laughter upstairs, you can't go up those stairs without seeing Miss Borden's bedroom. And again, Bridget was like, okay, that's kind of weird that Lizzie's laughing at the top of the stairs. Maybe she's just laughing that her dad got locked out, you know, whatever. And, you know, dad comes inside, sits down on the couch. Lizzie testified, you know, I helped take his boots off. I helped lay him down so he got comfortable so he could take a nap. Mind you, in the crime scene photos, those shoes are still on. Those shoes never moved. Number one, there's lie number one. That's not including that laughter on the top of the steps. So once dad comes inside and kind of gets ready to take a nap, the family kind of all went their separate ways inside. And around 11:10 a.m., Bridget was on her third floor bedroom. So this would have been up at the very top in the attic area toward the back. And Lizzie screamed that her father was dead. He was struck 11 times, one of which had actually hit right across his face and cut his eyeball in half. There was gusto behind these swings.
Yeah.
And at this time, too, with him being struck, when Bridget came down and when the family came down, he was still bleeding. So, I mean, this is a very recent crime. And, you know, he died around 11 a.m. So he gets home at 10:30 and is dead by 11. And of course, at this time, Lizzie had already screamed. People had already come to help her out. And, you know, they had taken her in for questioning. And, you know, Lizzie's kind of contradicting herself a couple of times during the testimony. Said someone should probably check on her stepmother because, you know, Lizzie said, you know, I think she came home. Is she okay? And Bridget and a neighbor actually go upstairs. And within 3 steps of them being from the top floor, they can see Abby's body on the ground. And, you know, Abby was already dead. When Lizzie was in custody, the officer said that she was very calm. She was very poised, and it aggravated them. She had a bit of an attitude, but they never went in deeper. Miss Lizzie Borden was not feeling so well, so they sent her home. You know, we'll question you later. They never looked at bloodstains. They never did a proper search at all. On the 6th, so this is, 2 days after the attack? That's when they actually came out and did a more complete search of the house. They inspected the clothes finally and confiscated the hatchet. And again, at this time, Lizzie's being told that, hey, you're a suspect. This is what's going on. And that very next morning, after those officers had left, Lizzie was found in the kitchen ripping up one of her dresses, one of her favorite ones. They never confirmed if that was the dress she was wearing, but her excuse was, "It's stained with paint and I need to get rid of it." And she took it downstairs and she burned it. And, she was taken in, she was tried. She was actually on morphine to kind of help calm her nerves a little bit. So right then and there, the judge is like, this is not really a good trial. She's under the influence, really can't do anything. And so many balls were dropped and so many things were swept under the rug and not looked into fully. And she was able to get away with it. She ended up, keeping this house and then selling it later on. She moved to a different place. Her sister and her moved away from each other. They never talked. And I mean, Lizzie Borden died at age 66 for, being tried for a double murder that she essentially got away from. A lot of people actually compare this trial to that of O.J. Simpson of recent events. And to be able to, again, to have all that money and to have all of these things kind of swept under the rug a little bit. There's also a theory going around that, this wasn't a big thing talked about in the 1800s, but there could have been cases of incest between her and her father. And there's a big ongoing rumor that both Emma and Lizzie were sexually abused by her father. And, with Abby coming in and being the stepmom and being worried about the money, and all of a sudden Lizzie just snaps one day and somehow she was able to get away with it. With all the balls being dropped, with everything happening, she was able to get away with all of it. And I mean,
Well, they also said what I read. I don't know how true this is, but what I read is she took her clothes off and changed it. She changed into a blue dress.
probably.
If I can remember. So yeah, I guess she was tearing up her murder clothes. I would guess. Yes.
And yeah, so here is, oops, I'm clicking way
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
fast.
Well.
So yeah, there's Abby.
Trigger
So
warning.
yeah, yeah, if anyone's, yeah, sorry, probably
Squeamish.
yeah, if you're squeamish, look away. I'm sorry, I have no squeam in me left whatsoever. So all of this is just like magazine clippings to me. But this is Abby, and you can actually stay in these bedrooms. You can rent out the whole house. It's B&B now. So Abby's here. This one's not so bad. So again, trigger warning, I guess. I completely forgot. Sorry. And then this is Andrew. So again, his shoes are still on. He was asleep,
Yep.
and to be attacked 30 minutes after you get home, you're still bleeding by the time your daughter finds you. And it's famous for its reasons. I mean, there's so many reasons why it is so iconic, but that's one of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
It's some
Absolutely.
good stuff. We need to go. We just need
It
to
very.
book the whole weekend. It's $248 a night. I've checked it out already.
That's
That
not too
ain't bad
bad.
though.
Right? $248 a night. Just stay at a bed and breakfast,
You
and
kidding me?
they serve you the same meal that Liz or the Bordens ate that morning.
Oh my
What?
god, so
Yeah.
creepy.
I want to go so bad.
Oh
That
my
is so
god.
creepy.
I'm game.
Right? Again,
God.
you can sleep in Abby's room. You can sleep in Bridget's room. You can sleep in the living room where Andrew was murdered. I mean, the whole house essentially is up for you, and they give you the breakfast the Bordens ate that night.
I'm not sleeping. I'm investigating all
Right?
the time. I mean
Let me just stay
sleeping.
up the whole night.
That is really creepy.
What?
This is the
That's
Stanley
awesome.
Hotel.
You got it.
Stanley Hotel.
The
My
most famous haunted hotel in North America, Stanley Hotel in Boulder, Colorado.
I actually have family that lives out in Colorado, and my cousin had gone off the rails for a little bit. My family all went out there to take care of her, but they stopped at the Stanley Hotel and got me a whole bunch of souvenirs. They were taking pictures. They got me postcards. I had like a little replica key from The Shining. It was some good stuff, but you can continue. I just had to throw that in there.
The person that built this hotel is named Freeland Oscar Stanley. He was stricken with tuberculosis.
Sorry, my husband just walked in and scared the crap out of me. Give me 1 second.
So basically, to get rid of it, you need fresh air and whatnot and whatever, sunlight, whatever. So from East Coast to Boulder, Colorado, he moved and he wanted to build a hotel alongside with his wife Flora, built the largest hotel in Estes Valley, Colorado. Okay, Estes Valley, Colorado, but still same thing. And that's is where the Estes method was invented, where you blindfold yourself, put on
Yeah.
noise
Yeah.
canceling headphones, and listen to the spirit box go. So that's how it came about. So it opened in 1909 in the wilderness and featured electricity. A lot of famous people came to visit, stayed between presidents and actors and everything in between, you know. The most famous haunted room in this hotel is room 217. And I'll give you a couple guesses on who stayed in this room.
Oh, that'd be ghost
Stephen
hunters,
King.
wouldn't it?
Stephen King stayed in it. No, that's where he wrote the Shining.
Yes, that's it.
Stephen
Stephen
King.
King, the most famous book art author in Maine, and he stayed in this room. So the story goes is that he was actually writing a book at home, and he had writer's block. So he packed up the family, the wife, the kids, and they went to the Stanley Hotel. At that time, they were shutting down for the season. So they had the whole entire hotel by themselves. So they checked him in on the last day and they stayed the night. During the night, he had a nightmare of a fire hose chasing his son around. Whatever. It's a weird nightmare. So at that time, he got up, lit a cigarette, smoked it, went back to bed, and that basically inspired the movie, the book, The Shining. Okay. So um, the one night it it basically ran out of electricity years before he came. He came out of electricity. Up till then, it was gas lit, lanterns and whatnot. Here's the hauntings. The maid blew up the whole entire room. She ended up in a coma, came back to work a few years later when she came out and recovered. And this head chambermaid was named Elizabeth Wilson. Okay. So after walking out of coma, she went back to work in 1913, remained employed there until 1950. Wilson's story should have ended there, but apparently her spirit still inhabits room 217. And here's the bizarre thing about this: as any other maid would clean up and do things for you and whatever, this maid typically is more helpful than scary. Guests have said that they woken up to her ghost, and her ghost ended up cleaning up the room while they're sleeping. Okay. And then somehow folded their clothes and suitcases organized. And that's how she is helpful and whatnot. Not scary, but, a nice old maid ghost.
The best
One, cou-
kind.
one couple told a staff member that their bed was made around them during the night while they're still in bed, which was weird to say. Couples that aren't married, you may not have the most restful night if you choose to stay in the room. Unmarried couples reported chilling presence settling into bed with them as they slept. So basically, she sleeps with you if you're an unmarried
Yeah.
couple.
Almost like a succubus type style.
Kind of sounds like it,
Yeah,
right?
it does, but it's not. So,
I don't know, man. Old ladies can get freaky too.
so back to Stanley. He died in 1940 at the age of 91. People believe that his presence still can be seen and felt at the hotel, mainly at the bar and in the billiard room. His wife Flora is there too, playing with the piano wherever that's located in the hotel. There's a ghost child with autism that wanders the property, plays with guests' hair, and on the fourth floor of the Stanley Hotel have shared stories of hearing children's laughter in the hall. Uh, the hotel also has a on-site pet cemetery where people bury their pets on the ground, and obviously their pets spirits roam around and whatnot. There's a friendly golden retriever named Cassie, and is said to deliver newspapers and scratch the doors to be let in from outside, despite being buried on the grounds.
There's a ghost dog?
There is a ghost dog.
The
Okay.
goodest of boys. Thank God.
There's a network of caves underground of the hotel. They're haunted too. Stanley thought that it was unprofessional for staff to be seen by guests. So employees use the underground pathways to travel
Yeah.
between rooms in the hotel, bars, restaurant, laundry facilities. There's a ghost pastry chef said to haunt the caves, as evidenced by the scent of baked goods. Another room, a couple more rooms here. Room 401 is the creepiest room out of all of them. Has been reported an unfriendly male ghost has been seen there. A woman have claimed that there were inappropriate touching of an unknown presence while standing in the room's closet. One man claims he witnessed his wedding ring move from the bathroom counter and fall down the drain of the sink in the bathroom. Uh, Room 407, multiple guests report being tucked into bed by some invisible force, felt someone sit on the foot of the bed, only to find nothing. And they say there's an indentation on the covers where they're sitting or standing or whatever it is. In the final room, room 428, seen the vision of a cowboy looming over the bed as they slept or standing in the corner. Any room above this room, and it's basically the ceiling. There's no room. There's no more rooms up above this room. Okay. There's been multiple reports of strange sounds like furniture moving and footsteps. So, and that's the strangest thing about this room is like it's just the ceiling. The roof is there. There's nothing there, and they're hearing furniture being moved and footsteps all night. So this hotel is basically on a mountain, on a cliff, and it could slide off anytime, basically, if there was no support beams.
Ah, shoot.
So this hotel is really haunted.
Yeah.
See, and that just makes me even want to go more. I'm trying to find, there's an EVP session from the Stanley Hotel, and it's friggin' hilarious, and I can't find it anywhere. If I ever find it, I'll have to bring it up, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a Stanley Hotel. I could be completely wrong, but who knows?
But yep, um, that's the Stanley Hotel, which I kind of do want to go to see that one though. Eventually,
Good luck trying to
In Colorado?
investigate it, though.
well,
Yeah, it's
Good-
like the Castaway Hotel Breakers at Cedar Point. You can go in. Good luck investigating, though.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What is this next one here?
What do you think? So I figure I've got to get off here soon because I actually have to work the flea market this weekend and I got to be up early. But this is my last entry. This is Poveglia Island. So this is out in Italy. And it's actually one of the most haunted places, at least over there. Um, so this was not only was it a prisoner camp for a while, but then it became a tuberculosis hospital and a quarantine hospital, and that was out in 1776. So it's very hard to get there. Number one, the locals are like, we don't go out there. You're not allowed to go out there. You have special permission, I think, even from the government to even get on this island. But so here's more of the island, and out toward the back here. So you have this little, how many sides is that? Probably more than a hexagon, more than an octagon.
Octagon.
It's a shape. It's a shape. But up front, you can kind of see the hospital. You can see a little bit more of the church. And here is a really good breakdown of it. So we've got the housing, we have the prison, the hospital. There's also an insane asylum, a church. They had a bridge. They had burning grounds. So what's really interesting about this little island right here is that part of this island didn't exist until after the tuberculosis and the plague actually came through. And what that extra island is those burning grounds had to keep up with a very large upsurge of patients. And as they burned these bodies, it actually built the other part of this island. So part of this is just human ash. Part of this island is made of human ash. And Ghost Adventures was a crew that went out there. And you know how Zach Bagans is. I love the boy to death, but he's dramatic. Supposedly he got possessed there, but there's also not enough investigators going out there to really kind of cross-reference these things. But I mean, the whole crew left feeling sick and agitated, and poor Aaron looked like a dog that had been hit by a car. I mean, they had EVPs coming left and right. They had gnarly feelings. They were seeing things out in those burning grounds. They were seeing things walk. They were seeing things run. They were hearing things growl. And for all of Italy to be like, no, we ain't messing with that. No one's allowed over there. Good luck getting over there. Even the Ghost Adventures crew had to be taken over by like a civilian boat. And even the boat guy was like, this is I'm getting. I will come back in the morning. You guys, good luck. Good luck. And to be left with that before an investigation sounds like a fun one to me.
Now what's this plague field?
So that would have been, I'm assuming this is probably where a lot of the bodies ended up at. So you do have the burning grounds, but you can't burn everyone. You can definitely try. So I'm assuming a lot of this over here has to do with those ashes and or just more and more bodies that may have been buried or left there. Because I think there's a mass grave on this island. I can't be sure off the top of my head. But this whole area, this whole little section is incredibly haunted, and it's very dilapidated. So one of my favorite things to do is the photography of these investigations, and to see how beautifully decrepit everything has gotten over the years, because no one wants to be there. No one wants to take care of it. I don't blame them. But I mean, it's gorgeous. The actual area in and around this place is incredible. And it's one of those places I want to go to. We'll probably never be able to go to. I will have to live vicariously through that one episode for the rest of my life. But that's what my bucket list place is. If I can go, I'm going.
Yeah, that'd be a cool one to go to.
I'm telling you, man, I'm getting my passport here soon, so maybe? Question mark? I mean, I'm not going to try.
I guess that will wrap up our show tonight with part 1 of the world's most haunted places in the world. So we'll talk about the next episode, and we definitely will have more parts to this subject. We do have a special guest on the 23rd of this
23rd.
month, 8 o'clock, Saturday.
Jason Meadows.
Sabrina, I am in talks with her, so we're going to start scheduling some people. So we'll see you guys maybe next week, if not the following.
We'll see you again sometime.
Well, if we decide to do it next week, I'll be at Poasttown Elementary School, and I will try to do the podcast in the doll room at Post Town.
Perfect.
So that's one of my favorite places in that place. That Miss Johnson's room. But I'll try to do a podcast in Miss Johnson's room if I have the coverage. Let's put it that way.
I'll be
Hopefully,
looking out
let's
for
hope.
that. All right. See you
All right.
guys later.